and start applying the principles of our Holy Scriptures to better your life. So, now your question should be, Rabbi, how do I remove negativity? How do I remove lack from my life? Well, my parents have lived in lack. My grandfather were on social welfare for the majority of their lives, and their dog and their cat was also on welfare. How do I remove myself from welfare? That's a question you should be asking, not what color cap Jesus wore, because I do get people like that come to me. Did Jesus wear zitzis or didn't Jesus wear zitzis? Did he wear red color cap or did he wear a blue color cap? Did he wear white clothes? Did he wear red clothes? You see, I get people like that. That's why sometimes I just, amusing. It's just amusing. But stupid information people want to know about. There's no relevance to their lives whatsoever. But this is my point, is start acting on the information that is relevant. When the scriptures point out certain information, they are not trying to give you like a color, a color scheme of what color, what to wear, what not to wear, but they're giving you ways to live. Ways to live is what's being illustrated. This is a wider point. Now, I can tell you about colors, but maybe we'll talk about colors one day. What colors you should be using to do different things. But having said that, coming back to the negativities, how do we remove negativities? If I have come, or if you have, or you meaning, don't take it personally, you could be the collective you outside, whoever's listening, who came from that lack mindset. Because when you grew up, and let me tell you, I had a stern message last night for one of my students, because he said to me that aren't we supposed to work hard to be successful? And I laughed, and I said to him, I used to think like that I have to work really, really hard to be successful in life. And I said, you know what? It got me nowhere. I said, you know about working hard? I said, I worked really, really hard. Let me tell you, I said, I did do that. I said, you know how many hours I used to work? I used to work 22 hours a day. Sometimes 22 hours a day. I said, once I worked 30 hours in a day. There's no 30 hours in a day, but once I worked 1.5 days. Continuously I worked. And I was telling him, and I did that many times, and I was telling him that one time, I said my regular hours a day at that time was 18 hours daily. 2 jobs, 18 hours a day, and I couldn't make ends meet. And I said, you know what? I couldn't make ends meet. And I realized that this is total BS, that you have to work harder to success. I said, that is a total BS. I said, you know how the rich get richer? I said, money attracts to them. Money is to them like a magnet. Money comes to them. That's why the rich get richer. I said, you know what poor get poorer? Because they live in lack. So I said, you have to come out of the lack mindset. Second-hand mindset. Because, these people, I touched their lives, and they were like living in the second-hand mindset. And I said, no, from now on, you start living in the new mindset, not second-hand mindset. Don't ever say, oh, I don't have enough money, I'm going to go get this second-hand instead. I said, from now you start telling yourself, I'm going to get this brand new, not second-hand. Rabbi Benaya is asking a question, saying the mishpacha, family, is it possible to have 100,000 hours to be working for you per day? This is in reference to the lesson. Absolutely, 100,000 hours don't exist. So I was telling him my life story. I told him my real life story. I said, listen, I have been there. I got the t-shirt and it's hanging up on my shelf somewhere, and I'm probably about to put it in the garbage can. So I said, I did work 18 hours a day. I'm not making this up. I worked it. I had a family. I had my brothers and sisters who were at that time in need, and they were living with me in England. And I said, I was working all the hours in the day, but I couldn't make ends meet. It just wouldn't happen for me. And I was like, something is not right about this picture. Then I came to the conclusion that my picture was faulty. I had to change my picture. I said no, because I would always refer to myself by my surname. I would always say to myself, Altaf, something is wrong in your picture. You are driving yourself to the ground, sir. You have to change your mentality and view. That is when I started to make changes in my life. And I said to myself, no, you're a better person. You don't have to work 18 hours a day. You have to work less time but make more money. How are you going to do that? So I decided that I have to come out of this driving the cab and working in some factory, and so I have to come out of this nonsense. This is just driving me to the ground. I'll never get anywhere. I won't be able to even buy my own house. I was at that point. I was like, I will never be able to buy my own property either. How am I going to do that? Many people in America today are living like that, what I was living back then, and I was 22 years old. And I said to myself, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go and get education, and I'm going to come out of this spiral of, this bad spiral I'm in right now, this dungeon mentality. So I removed that dungeon mentality, that lack mentality, and I said, no, from today, I'm going to tell myself that I'm a great person, I'm going to be a successful person. You know what's the first thing I did? First thing I did, I took a piece of paper and I wrote my goals for that year. And I said, for this year, 1992, 1991, or whatever, 1989, I said, my goals for this year are A, B, C, D. I wrote my goals. So that's the first thing you have to write. First thing you need to do to change your life, write your goals. Write the 3 topmost goals that you desire to have in your life. The 3 topmost goals. I mean, don't write, somebody will say to you, hey, put out 100 goals. No need to do that. That's too much. I want you to write out for yourselves 3 of your top goals. They should be on your piece of paper. That should be attached to your bedroom. Every day you look at it. You know what I used to do religiously? I used to get up in the morning, stand on my bedroom door, and I used to recite those goals to myself. This year, I'm going to do this. So I started to prioritize my priorities. What is my priority, I asked myself. My priority was to get out of the rut. I said, I'm getting out of this rut, and I'm going to be in a beautiful job, in a beautiful office, and how it's going to happen, I don't care. I don't know, I don't care about it. But I'm going to focus myself on a beautiful job in a beautiful office. I put the perfect law to work, which I didn't even know at the time, by the way. Didn't even know about it. But I put it to work. Every day I would dwell on it. My working hours, my working life didn't change. I was still working 18 hours a day. But my mindset had changed. I had a radical change of mindset. And I came across a book called The Midas Touch in those days. And I read that book, how this man became a millionaire. That just changed my whole perspective of life. I was like, no, you don't have to work hard to be rich. You have to work smart and you have to work right. So I started to do that. And as soon as I changed that principle, my life started to change. And before you know it, it took a decade. It took a decade to get there for me, because I came from real low background. But when I got there, guess what happened? I was on a $100,000 salary, and I had people lining up at my door of how did I do it. Honestly, that was really what happened. I had people lining up my door. How did you do it? We want to learn as well. So that is where I'm taking you. I'm taking you from your lack to your abundance. And it starts with your goals. You need to prioritize. You need to set some goals. And they need to be like whatever it is that you desire. And this is what I was telling my student last night. I said to him, stop thinking that hard work is going to make you rich. I said, 10 years from now, if you don't change your mindset, 10 years from now, you will still be poor. And you'll still be struggling. And you'll be telling me, I haven't got the money, I'm going to buy this thing second hand. And he paused. And he said, Brother Simon, he called me a brother. He said, Brother Simon, you were so right about this. Because we have struggled. We have worked so hard. That's a poor family. He said, in the East, he said, we have worked so hard. We can't make ends meet. He said, until you came into our life, we were struggling, and suddenly you came and it clicked. Our life started to change. Yemisia saying, when I was a child, we needed a new bathroom. My father mortgaged our home for a new bathroom. We got the new bathroom, but we lost the home. So what happened in this case? Well, Yemisia, I want to be very polite and tell you that your father, with all due intentions, did the right thing, but probably followed the wrong way to do it. That's why you lost the home. So, when you're going to put a new bathroom, you definitely shouldn't be losing your home. And it could be, and I will tell you, that usually it occurs from a lack perspective. I can guarantee you this, Yomisia, and I don't know if your father is alive or passed on. You can go ask your father if he's alive, did you ever have worries about how to pay the loan? And if his answer is yes, that's the reason why it happened. He was worried, he used a thought, that thought tortured him, and that put him down, and he wasn't able to come out of that thought. It wasn't about working harder, no. It wasn't about working harder. It was that your father's thinking was in the wrong, wasn't aligned properly. That was a problem. Rabbi Benaiah saying, indeed hard work does not make us rich, work smart. Here's a question one of my financial mentors asked me. Would you rather have $1 million at the end of 31 days or a penny doubled every day for the next 31 days? Example, day 1, 1 penny, day 2, 2 pennies, day 3, 4 pennies, day 4, 8 pennies, etc. Well, Rabbi Benaiah, my answer is very clear. I will take the penny a day. That will be my answer. So I don't know about the rest. So there you have it. Compounded interest is the gains to riches. And only we understand that, because we come from a different mindset. We are those people that at one time we belong to the progeny of Abraham. Abraham lived in abundance. Abraham did not live in lack and negativity. So learn from Abraham. His hands were always open. Doors were always open. Anybody could come and eat in his house. That is the truth. Go read it in the Bible for yourself. Go pick up any Bible and read it. People went to Abraham's house and he would open his house for anybody. He didn't say you're black. He didn't say you're red. He didn't say you're yellow. I'm not going to give you food. No. Doors were open for everybody. That's an abundant mindset, by the way. Abundant mindset. Yeah, Daniel's saying that a lot of pennies at the end of the month. Absolutely. So having said that, it is very important to understand that we have to live from an abundant mindset. Now, negativities, like I said, that if you live in negativities, and by the way, my father had that problem. My father did have that issue, and I learned from that. And I used to tell my father, don't think like that. But he did. He used to think like that. My father would be like, my real dad, he would be like, and I only have one dad, I guess. He'd be like, I don't want to do this because if I do this business, where I'm going to, what happens if it goes down? You see, before he even begun it, he would say, what happens if it went downhill? How am I going to then support my children? That was a mindset of negativity. That was a mindset of negativity. Why? Because before he even begun it, he had negativity. That's, I believe, Yomisia, is where your father was. Your father, before he even put that bathroom up, he had negativity. And that negativity cost him the house. So therefore, that's a problem area. That problem area needs to be dealt with. So in your case, you have to write your priorities, your goals. Like I said, pick top 3 goals. And your top 3 goals is where everything else derives from. You know what my top goal was? To be in a good job with a nice salary. That was my top goal. Top number 1 goal. What was my second top goal? Was related to the first one. I'm going to have a beautiful car. That was my top second goal. Was I'm going to have a Mercedes. That was my top second goal. And what was my third goal? I'm going to have my own house. So everything was hinged. Everything was hinged on goal number 1. If I didn't have the good job, how would I get the car? How would I get the house? So when I got the top goal, everything else lined up. That's how you should write your goals. So everything hinges on that one goal that's going to come to pass, and you're going to get everything else. Boom, 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 lining up. So number 1, write your goals. How do I deal with my negativities? See, these are the questions you should be asking, because there are people out there benefiting from these lectures. They are actually using these lectures like, my goodness, this rabbi is giving all this information. We're going to use this to benefit ourselves. But here I'm finding people are not even asking the questions. So I'm going to tell you the answer nevertheless, because this will benefit other people who are out there. So how do I deal with negativities? And there will be negativities in your life. The way you deal with them is this. First, ask yourself, do I come from a lack mindset? And if the lack mindset is present, you need to deal with it and remove it from your vocabulary. Your speech should never be that I'm going to do this second hand. I'm going to get this because I can't afford new, I'm going to go second hand. So Therefore, we need to remove the second-hand mindset. Because if we stay in the second-hand mindset, that's a lack mindset. So we say, no, I will do this, but I will do this the right way. And I spoke to a banker yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. I met a banker yesterday, and you know what she was from Italy, and what she told me, she said, when I got married with my husband, and I came over from Italy to America, I emigrated, and she said that my husband had no credit card. He had no credit card, he had no credit history, and I said to my husband, how are we going to get a house? You don't have a credit card, you don't have a credit history, how the hell are we going to get a house? How the hell are we going to buy our car? She said, America is credit driven. She said, I got a job at the bank. She said, I got him a credit card, but my husband didn't use it for 8 months. She said, then I went back to my husband and said, what are you doing? You're not using the card. How are we going to build credit history? Start using it. Start building credit history so we can do things. We have to buy a house. We have to buy a car, this, that, and the other. So she said, I had to drive my husband, drive meaning in the mind, and she said, I have to make him do that, to make him realize that everything is credit driven in this country. And she goes that I came from Europe, and she said in Europe it was totally different. And she said, my husband said to me that my father and my parents taught me, they were farmers. He said they taught me, if you don't have the money, you don't buy. See, that's a mentality issue. He said, if you don't have the money, you don't buy. If I have money, I'll buy a brand new car, but I have to have cash. If I have $40,000, I go buy my car. If I don't have $40,000, I don't buy my car, I go without. That was a mindset he was living in. She said, I changed him. I said, no, in America, everything is credit driven. You have to get things on credit. House, car, whatever, credit. She said, I made him do that. I made him readapt and relearn and change his mindset. But by the way, that is very true. In America, everything is credit driven. So therefore, in order to have good credit, you must use a card. And guess what, Rabbi Kifa? Majority of the people that I know and you know in this country don't have a card. Think about it for a second. If you don't have a card and you don't use a card, where's your credit history? On zero. What you going to get when you go to the loan company and you want to buy a house? They're going to tell you, sorry, we can't give you a loan. There's no credit history. When you go to buy a car, they're going to tell you, sorry, we can't give you credit because there's no credit history. Do you know how many letters of mail I get every day? Every day, give you an illustration. Do you know how many offers for cards I get every day over here? And I only came here a few years ago. And you know how many companies are loading over to give me a card? Why is that? Because my credit history is good in this country. That's why I have a card. I have a card in this country, and people and companies are loading over to give me another card, and I'm like, I don't need it. So you have to establish good credit, not just credit, good credit. And the only way you establish good credit is have a credit card, pay it off every month, run it for your shopping, your groceries, pay it off every month. That's what builds your credit. And if you don't do that, if you're like cash to cash, well, I'm only going to pay $30 when I have $30, well, then you'll be sitting there with no credit. That's not a very good way to live, because you will not be able to buy a car, you will not be able to buy a house, you won't be able to do anything in life. And I had to teach that to somebody yesterday. I told them, I said, look, they were like, we don't have the money to do X, Y, Z. and I gave them my life story. I said, look, one time I didn't have money to do X, Y, Z, but you know what I did? I still did it. I did it, but this is how you do it. So I said, stop this mindset of second hand, and I can't buy new, and I'll buy second hand, and I'll join half a car, then I'll join the other half, and I'll join two-wheeler, I'll join the other two-wheeler, I have four-wheeler. I said, this is nonsensical thinking. This is totally stupid thinking. You need to stop thinking like that, and you need to start thinking right. I said, let me show you what is right thinking. What is the right way to establish things. So I gave him a 2-hour lecture on the phone, what is the right way to live. And after that, he really did get it. Okay, this is from now on, what I'm going to do is from now on I'm going to think like that. So it's all about how you think. All about what you dwell with in your mind. If you dwell with negativities all day long, if it's always like, well, where I'm going to get the money, where I'm going to get the money, where I'm going to get the money. If that's a thought running in your head all day long, guess where you will be at the end of the week? Where am I going to get the money? Of course, end of the year. Where am I going to get the money? So that's a wider issue. Stop that. Stop saying that to yourself. Where am I going to get the money? Start telling yourself that you are going to have whatever it is you're going to have. If it's a house is a basic living. If you're looking to establish a house for yourself, then start telling yourself, I'm going to have a beautiful house. I'm going to have a 3-bedroom house. I'm going to have a 4-bedroom house. That's what you should be telling yourself. Not, where am I going to get the money? That's the wrong question to ask. So, you need to ask the right question. The right question is, how many bedrooms do you want? Do you want 2 bedrooms? Do you want 4 bedrooms? Do you want 10 bedrooms? And if the answer is, I want 3 bedrooms, then start telling yourself, I am going to have a 3-bedroom house. When Kuni is saying that I know a Messianic colleague, she has no credit, just always waiting for the money to buy, but second hand. She said, I try to educate her, but for now it does not work. Is as if she fears to be in debt. Absolutely, that's the problem. That's the problem. And I had to guide that person yesterday. My student, my friend, I had to guide him yesterday that everything in life is revolved around credit. I said countries borrow money to drive countries forward. I said even countries don't have cash to do it. So I said you have to borrow to make business. That is how life is. I said the richest people in this world are not cash rich. They have their assets stuck in all sorts of shares and this and that and the buildings and all sorts of other things, and then they have loans from banks. And the loans from banks are based on assets. I said that's how the wealthy get wealthier. Why? Because they borrow money from the banks. They might invest 20% of their money and 80% comes from the banks. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Rabbi Kiva, America has, $21 trillion of debt. It has the biggest debt of any nation. So I was trying to tell him that you have to borrow money to do things. To buy your car, to buy your house, you have to borrow. But I said, listen, let's not even think about borrow. Let's start thinking about having. So your first and foremost will be, when you set your goal, you don't say, where am I going to borrow? That's the wrong question. Always ask the right question. I was listening to an Indian guy, and the Indian guy was a doctor. And the doctor said, always ask the right question. Don't ask the wrong question. So he said, I was talking to my mother, and my mother was elderly, and I said to my mother, Mother, what do you want? And my mother said, I want to go to Himalayas. I want to walk to the Himalayas. And she couldn't walk, by the way. She was totally invalid. And he said, okay, mother. Because first he said, what do you want? And she said, well, let me think. I want to walk to the Himalayas. And his father laughed. His father laughed at him and said, what a stupid man, a stupid doctor. He's my son, but he's stupid because he's asking his mother a stupid question. The woman can't even walk to the bathroom, and he's saying to her, what do you want? And then he said he's going to take her to the Himalayas. And the man's testimony was that his mother not only walked, but she walked to Himalayas at the age of 82 years old. When he asked her the question, she was 60 years old at that time. This is apparently a true story. It happened in India. So first of all, ask yourself the right question. What is it that you want? What did Jesus say to the blind man? Jesus didn't say to him, well, let me give you all the glories of the world. He said, what do you want? And what did the blind man say? The blind man said, I would like to see. He knew what he wanted. If you don't know what you want, how are you ever going to get it? Because you don't know what you want, you'll never get it. So Jesus set the principle. What do you want? I want to see. Okay, here you go. Here's your sight. See, that's how the mind works. Your mind is ready to act on your wishes. Your mind is your servant. Yes, it's your servant. You're the master. You're the master. You're going to command the mind. You're going to tell your mind what you want. That is your I am. Your God particle, your God part in you is waiting. It's on the thought, it's on the ready, idle, waiting, idle. And you tell it, what do you want? I want a house. I want a 3-bedroom house. Write it down. I want a 3-bedroom house. Then start focusing on it. Start imagining it. Start living in that house every night. That's what you're going to get. That's what your mind's going to deliver you. Because you have now told your mind what you want. Not, oh, what shall I do? What shall I do? What shall I do? Stop all this nonsense. Start coming into reality. So what happened with Moses? Moses was seeing hundreds of people every day. 2 million people. Out of those 2 million people, probably, 1,000 people queuing up every day with questions. And his father-in-law comes and says to Moses, Moses, I'm just observing. Son, I'm just observing. But my observation tells me this. You're doing things the wrong way. You should be having groups of leaders. You should be having a group of leaders, judges. And those judges need to help these people with their questions. And you need to free yourself. So Moses said, okay, I will do that. And Moses did it. Doesn't say Moses prayed about it. Moses said, let me ask my pastor. Let me consult my brother Aaron. No, he said he just did it. Because that's what he needed to do. So illustrated point is that when something needs to happen, you just do it. And somebody will be sent. A man will be sent. So that man, because the Bible says he was a priest. Jethro was a priest from wherever he came. Let me tell you something about the Arab people. The Arab people in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, in all these places, Qatar, all these good places that you hear about on the TV and in the newspapers, do you know what? They don't use the word cancer in their vocabulary. Ever thought about that? Why don't these people use the word cancer in their vocabulary? Because they will not even talk about it. They don't want to talk about cancer. They don't want to see cancer. They don't want to talk about it because words have power. And they don't even want to discuss the word cancer. And so the reason being is because it's seen as anathema. Well, if you're not going to have it, why do you want to talk about cancer? You see? See what my point is? My point is this, that when you dwell on something and you keep talking about it, oh, hey, Rabbi, my diabetes and my sugar is out of control and I'm having, all sorts of blood issues and problems. Guess what's coming your door? What you're dwelling on, the concentration that you're dwelling on is your diabetes. That's why there is important principles in place over here. Rabbi Benaiah saying, I give thanks and praise to the Creator of the universe, Master Yahweh, for being able to build a group of 150,000 people in my gold business through the principles HaKohen is speaking about. Baruch Hashem Yahweh for that, and you will build more, Rabbi Benaiah. You will definitely build more. So my point is this, that you must understand is that don't dwell on certain things like cancer. Cancer is one. Arabs don't dwell on it, by the way. How many Arabs have you heard had cancer? Any of you heard that Arabs had cancer in Dubai and they died? Or in Abu Dhabi and they died? I've never heard of it. Why? Because they don't dwell on the word. How many times you heard in America that somebody died from cancer? Many times. Why? Because TV is always talking about it. Cancer, this drug, go to your doctor and get this. The first time I came to America and I saw this media, the TV, and I was looking at the channel and they always come up with some medicine. Go to your doctor and ask for this medicine. I was like, what the heck is this? What is this? Ask for this medicine. And I was like, what does that mean? Ask for this medicine. I don't need any medicine. Why would I go ask my doctor about this phenatol or some other medicine? It's because the culture is subconsciously bombarding you with medication. And they're telling you, hey, ask your doctor about this so-and-so medicine. Hey, every time you see it in ads, in cinema ads, in TV ads, you're sitting there and they'll pop up some medicine and say, ask your doctor about this. I did absolutely said subconscious. They're bombarding your subconscious with these medication and they're saying, ask your doctor. What does that mean? Go inquire about it. So they are putting a thought into your subconscious and making you go to the doctor, because even if you don't want to go, you say, oh, let me go ask my doctor about phenatol or whatever the name is of some medicine, right? But stupid way. But it is actually very powerful because it works. I read somewhere I read that they said to the people in the ads, right in the middle of the ad, they would say to the people, go buy Coke. And he said, go buy Coke. and Coca-Cola, what you call soda over here. They said, go buy soda. And people were actually going buying soda. And then the government banned that because they said, you are trapping people subconsciously and making them buy that. And so they understood that. Jesus used the word both subconscious and conscious for your information, Gab 1978. Okay? He used both words. But he used them in a Hebraic mindset, which most of you are clueless about. So, having said that, let me put this person out of their misery. So, having said that, we have to understand that the culture that we live in around us, they're always bombarding us with these little messages. These little messages are not to benefit you, it's to benefit them. The drug industry, the medical industry, the pharmaceutical industry, because they've got to make money. So they put that idea in your head. When they put that idea in your head, guess what? You're going to be, it's in your head. And it's going to come into your head. So what I'm trying to do now is to rearrange your brain. How do you rearrange your brain? I'm telling you to bring your highest priority first. If your highest priority right now is that you have a car that you need to drive to work, then that should be up there, number one goal. I need to have a vehicle, a car, because I need that to go to my job, etc. So you write that. Now what about the lack? Well, the lack. I teach people how to remove lack from their lives. Number one, your home needs to reveal abundance. If your home don't reveal abundance, you might be saying, I have a car, I have a car, I have a car. Guess what? The car doesn't show up. Why? Because you're living in negativity. Your home shows negativity. I walk inside your house and I see that the jars are all empty. Okay? I walk inside your house and I see the rice jars are empty. The salt jar is empty. The sugar jar is empty. And you're saying, I have a car, I have a car, I have a car. And the car doesn't arrive. Why is that? Why is the car not arriving? This is where Jesus spoke about. When Jesus said to the blind man, what do you want? And you know what I say to the householder? What do you want? And they'll say, I want a house. And I'll say, but first you haven't got sugar in your jar. You haven't got salt in your salt jar. You haven't got bread in your bread pan. Isn't that priority? Doesn't priority dictate that those things are available first, and then the car, or then the house? You see one point? See where I'm going with this? The house is living in lack. Yet the person wants abundance, but they don't see that they are working from a lack mindset. So where do we start? We start removing the lack. So how do we do this? Well, okay. Let me illustrate the point. Today is your day of learning. In our culture, where we came from an agrarian culture. What did we do? We had loads and loads of grains in our house. What's the first thing you need to do? Put some grain in your house. How? Okay? Get a pouch. And now don't say to me, can I put it in a Ziploc bag? Because you're always going the other way. When I say something, follow it to the letter. When I say pouch, pouch means pouch, not Ziploc. So you don't need to ask me that two times. Rabbi, can I use a Ziploc? And answer is always going to be no Ziploc. So it's going to be a cotton cloth pouch. Take a pouch, take a cotton cloth, a handkerchief, stick grains in it, either whole, wheat grains, or you stick powder in it of ground grains. Stick it in your kitchen, somewhere in the corner, away from yourself. It needs to stay there. That grain that you put there, especially if it's ground grain, it might eventually go off. So you need to replace it, preferably every year. If it's whole grains, it probably won't go off for a long time. So you don't need to replace it every year. If it's ground, it may need to be replaced. Do the same with salt. Do the same with rice. Okay? Those three things you need to do. That's starting to remove lack from your mindset, from your house. You start with your house, with your dwelling, whatever you call your house. If it's a room, you might say, Rabbi, I only have a room. So what, you have a room? Put it in your room. Yes, both, Eddie, both. Rice and grain. So I'm now telling you a perspective. Now listen to this and learn. This is a secret of the priesthood. When we were in the temple, and before the temple, we were in our tabernacle, in our little tent. It was quite big actually. So what did we do? Did we worry about the name Yahweh? Did we go around teaching hey, say Yahweh like this. Hey, say Yahweh like this. Say Jehovah. We didn't do that. What did we focus on? We focused on the people, benefiting the people. What's happening today in religion? This is how you should be saying the word Yahweh. It should be Yehovah. It should be Jehovah. It should be Yahweh. It should be Yahweh. It should be Yahamashi. Who cares what God's name is? Who cares? Because if your life is on the dirt, if your life is down there in the floor, what do I care what God's name is? 20 years ago, I didn't care about that. I said, whoever you are, creator of the universe, talk to me. I didn't say, Yahweh talk to me, Jesus talk to me, Allah talk to me. I didn't do that. I said, whoever you are, talk to me. 20 years ago I said that. I was just fed up with religion. I was like, total fed up. I was like, I don't need religion. I need the creator of the universe. And that's what happened. I got the creator of the universe. So my point is this, that stop running after the nonsense. How do you pronounce this, Rabbi? Do you say Yeshua? Or do you say Yahushua? Or do you say Yahshua? Sometimes it's a comedy. It's a real comedy. And I just smiling at this comedy. I'm just thinking of people's mentality. Where are they stuck? They're still stuck in religion. And I say, it's not pertinent whether you say Yeshua, Yahshua, or Jesus. It's not pertinent, honestly. So my point is this, that you need to better your lives. That's the way the buck stops. And the buck has to start from what you call home. If that home is your car, then place these items please in your car. If that home is your room, place them in your room. If that home is your 3-bed house, 2-bed house, put it in your house. Salt, grains, rice. That is the secret of our past, abundance. We had this in our house. Guess what existed in temple treasury? Not money. We had a whole room set up for grains. And grains never ran out of the temple. Do you know why they never ran out of the temple? You might say, oh, miracle of God, no, not miracle of God. Because grain was acting as an abundant magnet to attract more grain. That was God's secret. That's how God's secret works. Yes, Venkuni, you can put these items in your kitchen, or you can put them in your living room. Obviously, you don't want to decorate them in your living room, because people will be questioning, what is this little pouches for? And you'll be like explaining it for the rest of your life. So maybe I'm saying kitchen because they'll be on one side of the kitchen and you don't have to worry about explaining to everybody. But what you could do, you could take real live shoots of grain and you could decorate your home with them. Decorate your home. Very, very important principle. And that will bring in abundance into your house. Listen, I'm giving you a personal testimony. My house has never run out of flour. Never in my whole life has run out of flour. And when I say whole life, I'm talking about the last 30 years since my abundance came. So my point is this, when you start doing this, your home will not run out. You will not have empty jars of sugar. You will not have empty jars of flour, because you will no longer be living from lack. Abundance attracts abundance. That is the secret of the priesthood. You know, I have a 50-pound bag of white sugar in my house right now, and I can't finish it. I've been trying to finish this for the last year. I'm telling you, this stuff is so real that you won't believe it. So you have to understand where I'm coming from. So, I'm kind of like struggling to finish white sugar over here. So, having said that, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's a good blessing to have. That's a blessing. Not a blessing, oh, well, I've got to go to Walmart and buy more sugar. That's not a blessing. So, my point is this, that blessing is when you can see it. Oh, absolutely, Eddie, absolutely. Spelled flour can count for grain. If you can get it whole, fine, use the whole. If you can't get the whole, get the ground, stick it in a pouch, stick it in your room, keep it there. I've already told you about the stones. I told you what stones you need to have. You need to have, you may be tribe of Judah, you may be affiliated to the tribe of Shimon, maybe affiliated to the tribe of Benjamin, maybe Levite, whatever tribes you're affiliated with. You can get a mixture of stones. You don't need to be with the tribe that you are. Don't need to be the same stones. There can be a mixture. Make sure you have a sardius. Make sure you have a emerald. Make sure you have a, what's the other one? I'm trying to think. Amethyst. And jasper. make sure you have these stones in your house. I posted some stones to Rabbi Kifa. I think he'll be getting them soon, or he already probably has them. Yeah, that is true, Eddie. Sardius and carnelian are the same. So you can get, they're interchangeable names. So get carnelian or sardius, both are fine. Keep those stones in your home. One other thing you must keep is tourmaline. Tourmaline I spoke about, I don't know if I spoke about in one of my lectures or not, I may have, or maybe privately. Tourmaline will keep away the radiation, these frequencies that run around us, like, the computer, the radio, the TV, all these frequencies that can affect our bodies negatively. Tourmaline is an antidote to that, and it earths you as well. It's an earthing stone. You must be earth to the Mother Earth. It's very important. So have tourmaline in your house. Inexpensive. How do I spell it? Let me write it. Well, actually, let me spell it as well. T-O-U-R, like tour, like you're going on a tour. M-A-L-I-N-E, tourmaline. Okay, thank you for that, Mankuni. So have tourmaline stones which you place in your living room or wherever you sit. They will act as, these EMC, these radiations that occur around us. They will help to remove that because they disrupt your body, by the way. Reason why I say it, because these will disrupt your body, the radiations, the frequencies, and they disrupt you. They can cause things like headaches, negativities, bad thoughts, all sorts of other problems. No particular color, no, any color is fine. I mean, I have them here, and they are like almost look like black in color. So get whatever color you can find. So you have to have those. So once you have those, now you're working from a point of abundance. You're no longer working from a point of lack. And you must work from a point of abundance. What did Jesus say? Jesus came and said, I have come that you may have abundance. And if your house is lack, and churches tell you that it's okay to be poor, then you got to vote with your feet. I would encourage you to vote with your feet, because that is not the message of the Christ who came. His message was totally different. So having said that, it is very important, don't be stuck with salvation as a metaphor for, something in the future. Your salvation is right now. Right now. What is your salvation? What is your righteousness? What is your sin? I explained that in one other lecture. Your righteousness is your desires. You're getting your desires. You're getting your house. You're getting your car. That is your righteousness. You're missing the mark. That is your sin. You're not getting your house. You're not getting your job. That is a sin. That is a sin. That is missing the mark. You don't want to miss the mark. When you set your mindset properly, when you set that top goal, and the top goal says, I am going to get my job. It's not I am going to get my job. It says, Baron one Bear Show. Sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Baron one Bear Hawk. Gab was just being rude in the sense I felt she was being rude because I'm trying to teach a concept, and she wanted to tell me where did Christ say what. I'm not here to illustrate every little aspect of the scriptures, and it is there. It is there. But if I start doing that, then I won't be able to give the people the relevant information. I'll be chasing after irrelevant information. That's why I had to remove her from the room, because she was disrupting the class, asking a question that she was basically saying to me, which scripture, and there are times when I can do that, and there are times that I won't do that, because I'm not going to sit here and point to you and say, Matthew chapter 28 verse 19 is where Jesus said this, and this is what it means. Guess how much time that takes? When I start telling people, I don't just say Matthew 28:19. I start going through the Greek, the Hebrew, this, that, and the other. And what happens, it takes away 15-20 minutes of time that I could have been explaining a purpose of abundance to somebody. And I'm now wasted 20 minutes of my time talking about nonsense. You know what I mean? That's my point. I don't talk about nonsense over here. Jesus said this word, and it's here, and it's in the Greek, and it's in this. People do that, by the way. People do that all the time. I don't do that. I don't do that, because when you want that information, if you want that information, write me an email and say to me, Rabbi, I need further clarification for this. could you please point me the references and I will send you an email back in my spare time. That is the right protocol to approach me with. You don't say to me in a class when I'm trying to teach people abundance, and then you're asking me a question about where did Jesus say subconscious and what was the other word she used? Consciousness and subconscious. Yeah, I'll tell you where Jesus told you that, okay? Matthew chapter 25, Jesus illustrated the point of subconscious and conscious. Okay? Matthew chapter 13, Jesus illustrated the point about conscious, subconscious. I can point you literal many passages to illustrate the point. But, like I said, that it takes away important information from people over here that are trying to better their lives to information that simply is a distraction. So all I'm trying to do is avoid the distraction. I'm not being disrespectful to people. I just think that they distract you and they take you away from where you are to somewhere totally different. And there is an avenue for this, and we call it email. That's the best way. And the email, sure, she can definitely send me email. Let me make sure that she's not blocked, because I didn't block her. I just removed her from the room. But sometimes you get blocked when you get removed. Gab 1978, I'm going to remove her. She can join the room back if she likes. I have removed her. I don't mean any disrespect to anybody. She can come back. But like I said, Baron, that I'm here to teach people how to live better lives, how to better their lives. And if people want to know what a Greek says and what a Hebrew says, I can do that better than any scholar out there. By the way, I dealt with a scholar once, years ago. This scholar came to me and said to me, hey, this. And I was like, I rubbished him, in front of 50 people, right? I slammed him down, in Hebrew and Greek. And he didn't know what to say. So, yes, I'll post my email. So therefore my point is that don't drive me toward the Hebrew and Greek and where it says this, because and I will give it to you and then you won't like it. So especially if you're debating with me. So I don't like to debate for that reason, because I don't want to belittle people. So having said that, so coming back to the point of abundance and the point of the lecture, and notice what Jethro said to Moses. And notice what the Holy Bible tells us. The Holy Bible tells us that Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took Zipporah, Moses' wife, after he had divorced her, sending her back, and her 2 sons, of which the name of one was Gershom, for he said, I have been a stranger in a foreign land, and the name of the other was Eliezer, for he said, Elohim of my father was my help. Here is your 2 points. These 2 points, these 2 scriptures, to most people, they only talk about divorce and they only talk about marriage. But actually they talk about more. They talk about your conscious and your subconscious. What is the conscious? Your conscious is living in a foreign land. Okay, that's your conscious. And subconscious, help from God. Eliezer is your subconscious. Eliezer is your I am. When I looked at that word first, Eliezer, years ago, and I was like, wow, this word has God in it, because this word is help from God. And where does God dwell? Where is the kingdom of God? Right inside you. It's right inside you. If you have the kingdom of God, it's right inside. No, it's not out there in Israel. It's not in Jerusalem. It's not in the squares of the old city in Jerusalem. No, it's right here in North America, right here in England, right here in France, wherever you live. It's inside you. Tap that kingdom. Tap the kingdom of God, and you can get whatever you desire. Why did Jesus teach about the fishes? What did he teach about the loaves? All these teachings are relevant to your daily living. That's why he taught about them. He talked about the loaves. He talked about having these fishermen going out and fishing, and then throwing keeping the good and throwing the bad. These are all illustrative points. Illustrative points about abundance versus lack, good versus bad. Like I explained to you earlier, if you live with thoughts, which we all do, we all have thoughts. 70,000 thoughts a day, by the way. If we have 70,000 thoughts a day, how many of those thoughts are negative? Ask yourself that question. How many of those thoughts are negative and are self-destructive? People are killing themselves in North America with drugs. They're killing themselves. You know why? Because their thoughts are destructive. They're taking heroin, they're taking coke, they're taking meth. Meth is very popular over here, by the way. And so that's another problem. That is another problem. Why? Because their thoughts are destructive. And the destructive thoughts always derive you towards destructive ways. So we need to deal with our thoughts. So the next question you should be asking me is, you could call me Altaf if you like, you call me Simon, I don't mind. Call me Rabbi, whatever, whichever way you would like to address me, I don't mind. So if you said to me, Simon, how do I address these 70,000 thoughts? And here is the answer to that question. Every morning you get up, you sit down and you meditate. Allocate yourself 15 minutes of your time. 15 minutes of your time should be allocated to meditation. Now you might say, what do you mean by meditation? I'm not a Hindu and I don't sit there and chant, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. How do I do this? No. The way you sit down is you quiet your mind. 15 minutes. Now there is a company that I was highly recommended. It's called EquiSync. I'm gonna type it in. I'm going to speak it as well. EquiSync. Google it. EquiSync is a company that gives out subliminal tapes, audios, and they are very, very good for your mind, for your health, for your body. And they are a little expensive. An audio will cost about, maybe a set of audios will cost about $70. They give a discount as well, 20% discount. And I have nothing to do with them, so don't think that I'm promoting a company that's going to give me money. It's not. So I'm pointing you to EquiSync. EquiSync has some fantastic subliminal audios. They are designed and geared to synchronize your mind. Very, very good. I will highly encourage you to get those. Highly encourage you to get those for yourself, because they will help you to quieten your mind. You need to do that. When your mind is running 70,000 thoughts a day, every morning get up, sit down. Either you play the EquiSync audio, they are 23-minute audios, subliminals. You can play the 23-minute subliminal and relax. Empty mind, deep breathing, empty mind, relax. If you can't afford it, if you cannot afford the audios because, you don't have the money, then that's fine. Then you got to do it yourself. You got to sit down, upright, in the morning, 15 minutes, get up, start breathing, have 4 or 5 deep breaths. In, hold for a few seconds, and then slowly out through the mouth. And then in again, then out. Then in again. You must do that 5 times. There's a way to do it. And again, I can't illustrate it because, let me explain it. You clench your fists, you clench both of your hands in front, and you raise your hands, and you breathe in. Stomach in, and breathe out. Clench hands down, hands open. That's how you do it. So, again, clench your fists both in front, and breathe in, stomach in. And hands down, open, breathe out. You do that 3-4 times in the morning and in the evening. If you can allocate yourself 15 minutes in the morning and 15 in the evening, quiet your mind, your rational mind, quiet it. That's called deep breathing. And then you quiet your mind by focusing, empty everything in your mind. Stop all that chatter. All the chatter, that's going on in your mind. A lot of it is negative. A lot of the times is negative chatter that is disrupting your life. Yes, you can sit on the bed, you can lie on the bed as well, and you can do all of that. That's great. So all of that, remember, Jesus went away for 40 days and 40 nights. What did he do? He meditated in the mountain. That's the point illustrated there. And he fasted. Now, I'm not saying that you have to fast. I'm not saying that you have to go with hunger strikes. If you prefer, you can fast. If you prefer, if it's easier for you, you can fast. But if, a lot of Catholics will be doing the Lent fasting starting March 6th, by the way. So again, I picked up that date from the internet because somebody said to me they're going to do Lent. And I was like, you're going to do Lent? They're like, yeah. So how many? 40 days? Like, 40 days is okay, fair enough. So if you want to do Lent, be my guest, do Lent. But God has given us one fast, Yom Kippur, every year. The Pharisees fasted twice a week. Some of them fasted once a week in ancient Israel's history, 2,000 years ago. But again, it's not a command, it was just a custom. Pharisees fasted twice a week, Monday and Thursday. So you can fast. If you decide to fast, you can do that. Because that also helps to empty your stomach, I guess. It's kind of funny, but it literally empties your stomach. So you can empty your mind or you can empty your stomach. Take your pick. So it's really good actually. So you can empty your stomach by fasting, or you can empty your mind by daily meditating. Daily set yourself. If you say to me, Rabbi, I don't have 15 minutes, that's too much time. Okay, give yourself 5 minutes. Okay, give yourself 5 minutes so that you can have 5 minutes of quiet time for yourself daily. 5 minutes, and maybe 5 minutes of quiet time. 1 second. Somebody just written me an email. Okay, let me just have quick response. Shalom. What's her name? Gaba. Okay, so I'm going to just quick response to this email, and then I'm going to come back to you right away. Okay, I'm back now. So my point is this, that Jesus illustrated many points, final points for living, healthy living, good life. But what we have done, and maybe I'm guilty of that as well, and don't put me on the cross, literally. So maybe I'm guilty of that, because what we do is we spiritualize everything away. We spiritualize it, but actually I'm not guilty of that, because I've always behind the scenes taught people the right information, the right things for their lives, the right way. You've never heard me say, hey, you got to take God's name this way. Hey, you got to do this thing this way, because otherwise there's no blessing. I don't do that, because people use God's name, and people use other things like the Sabbath, and they use like clothes like zitzits, and they use other things like you got to wear a certain dress. I don't do that. You've never heard me say, you got to wear a particular type of shirt on the Sabbath. I don't do that, because that's not me. Because I come from I'm a whole different man. I come from the East. And I bring you information that, my goodness, I'm way in a different league. I'm way in a different league over here. So with me, you're going to get information you've never heard of. And that's going to benefit your life, benefit your purposes of living, and you really going to get to understand what Jesus was talking about. It's not going to be the church talk like, hey, Jesus said that I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no man comes to me except, no man comes to the Father except through me. Absolutely right. What does it mean? Pastor will tell you this week in, week out in churches. Jesus said that I am the truth, the life, and I'm the truth and the life, and no man comes but through me. Okay, Pastor, thank you very much for pointing out very important words of Jesus. And John 14:6 is a favorite with Christians. John 14:6 and John 8:32, they are two favorites. And so they will quote you, and they will say, paraphrasing again, they will say to the effect of, they said, Jesus said that I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me. Okay, bright lights. What does he mean by that? Oh, that you must come to salvation through Jesus. Of course. No, that's not what he meant, by the way. So, because if Jesus meant that, then how come Moses wasn't told that? How come Moses didn't say to the Israelites, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, you must go to him to get your salvation? Now he doesn't have an answer. Because he just fouled up, because he just messed up, he gave you totally false information, bad understanding. He didn't understand what Jesus was talking about. He totally spiritualized it away. He made it into like one statement, and everything else he ignored. Everything else Jesus said is totally ignored by Christians, by the way. When Jesus tells you that if you want to be my disciples, you have to obey me. Oh, okay, what does that mean? Well, when was the last time you kept the Passover like Jesus? And the answer probably be, for the Christian, never. So there you have it. That's how Christians operate. But here is what Jesus' words mean. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to me except through the Father. Guess who's the Father in you? Guess who's the Jesus in you? When Jesus said that I will be with you to the end of the age, your God, the God that lives inside you, the God that created you, the God that Jesus said I am. Guess where that I am lives? He lives in your mind. He lives in your subconscious. That is your area of connection to God. That is the area of the kingdom. So that is what Jesus was telling you. Jesus wasn't telling you some airy-fairy concept of, make a profession, I love Jesus, and, Jesus, I have Jesus, now I'm saved. No, he wasn't telling you that. He was simply illustrating a point that in order to get into the kingdom, what did he say? He said, the kingdom of God is not by observation.